So, here's the message, part of my podcast for Independence Day. I want to tell you that I'm not giving this message as an expert in blindness. I've got plenty of those that I meet with that talk with me. I am talking to you as an expert in my blindness, and I do want to share all that I've learned about my blindness and the ways to cope with it and the ways to be free from my blindness with all of you. So my Independence Day message is about all the different characteristics or steps that I've found are involved with being successful in challenging the barriers of blindness to get to the freedom side. The first one, and this is probably the most important one because without it, you can't really move on or do anything beneficial. The first one is called acceptance. Now, that's both acceptance by your own self of your disease or your limitations or however you want to label what it is that you have to accept, as well as acceptance of that thing by other people, particularly the ones that care about you. Now, the first part, the self-acceptance, the acceptance of your own blindness, everybody puts it off. I did for a long time. But everybody also sees it coming if they have a disease that's progressive like mine. I have glaucoma. I can't talk to you about the experience of having sudden blindness or of having blindness from birth. But I can tell you about how the struggle goes to accept that blindness is going to be permanent and part of your functioning, because it's going to change your world in dramatic ways. And you have to be ready for that. You can't be dreading that. You have to be welcoming it at a certain level, or at least trying. And then there's the acceptance of your blindness of those around you. Now, when it comes to strangers, they have a really easy time accepting my blindness. I think that people are very considerate and will go out of their way to do anything that I ask them to do on a one-time basis at their convenience. Now, people who are close to you, family, friends, they really don't want to accept your blindness because, well, they really don't know what it's all about. There's a lot of misperceptions that the public has about what blindness is, what it's going to mean, what you'll be capable of. And without acceptance of them, they kind of get in your way and push you in directions of trying to save your eyesight instead of develop your strategies. If you get your self-acceptance first, that's helpful, but then you need the ability to persist while all those other people get their own acceptance. But then you're ready to move on. It actually begins to easier in a lot of ways after you make that acceptance step, because you realize that it is going to be frustrating. Things will take you a lot longer. There's a lot of things you won't be able to do, at least not in the same way that you used to be able to do it when you could see. But you'll be able to do things in a totally different way if you can embrace your blindness and learn coping strategies and skills that are available. And praise the Lord, we are in an age of technology, so that layer of coping is amazing for us these days. But I'll get to that. A second element on the list that I think is required for success with blindness and breaking through to freedom, and I should mention that the rest of these are probably in no particular order, but they're all important. The second one is it takes a lot of strength. You have to put up with a lot of activities that will require an incredible amount of energy. You have to try to do new things when new things are really difficult and oftentimes scary. They're worth doing, though, because once you reach success, it's quite thrilling. You have to keep your strength up because of all of the energy that's required to keep trying and trying and trying until you get that success. And you have to have emotional strength in order to put up with the emotional frustrations and sadness and depressions that can come, so that you can break through to the gladness and thrill and excitement. You have to be able to eat and feed yourself well. These are issues as a blind person, particularly feeding yourself well, particularly if you're a single person like I am. Being able to cook as a blind person is a special skill I've learned. I recently discovered Chef Deborah Erickson from The Blind Kitchen. Wow! Another one of my exciting Independence days. Chef Deborah has tools that are made specially for us and techniques that she's developed in years of culinary arts. And I'm looking forward to learning and using them. But it takes a lot of strength and endurance. A third element is support from others. This is one that might be obvious, but it's pretty difficult at the same time. Asking for help is not easy, but it is a skill that you need to learn. You need to be able to be specific about what it is that you need. You have to be able to give feedback to others that things they're offering may not be helpful at all. Such as when somebody says over there when you ask how to get somewhere. You have to explain to them that you need different kinds of directions. Generally, people are able to support you if you can give them that guidance, and you'll be much more successful in trying to accomplish the task that you're attempting. You really can't do it without support, even if it's just that moment where you're lost and you need the direction to the place across the street. Or if it's a long-term issue that you need to have learning and training that just takes time. You can't do it on your own. I can't do it on my own. But once I learned to get the support from other people, I've made huge jumps forward. I've been able to have much more frequent independence days. And blindness has become a lot less scary and impossible. Certainly, I love to support other people, and that's a good thing too. And that's certainly part of this podcast, is to try to see if I can connect with other people in blindness, because I'd sure love some support going along these steps, as hopefully you're getting out of hearing about my steps. Another element that I think is required for the success of breaking through blindness to the independence and freedom is frustration tolerance, or in a broader sense, emotional coping skills. The amount of frustration that's involved with being blind is huge. It's a lot less frustrating than trying to pretend like you're not blind, but there's a lot. And then when you add on top of that the frustration of trying to break through that blindness and learn something new and apply it in a real life situation and deal with failures and modifications and successes that are like approximate, well, you learn to tolerate that as being normal. You have to learn ways to brush it off, to recognize it, to not be distracted by it or engage it, because it's just a waste of energy. It's just a normal part of being blind, and the more you're trying to break through, the more you're going to get. If you have those expectations and you have the coping skills, you'll probably do well. Certainly other emotional coping skills are required, and being a blind person, I'm not sure I have a lot to say about that yet. I think I'm looking for a self-help support group. My caseworker has told me that there may be one for the South Shore. I'll let you know.